Crimson Desert is finally here, and oh boy, it's a lot. This is a massive game with tons of systems to learn, gigantic skill trees with an overwhelming number of options right out of the gate, 3 playable characters that all behave differently, and a very unusual control scheme that will take some time to get used to. If you want to avoid that feeling of learning something and going, man, I wish I knew that hours ago, which is something I've personally felt numerous times while playing, here's a video covering 25 things that you need to know before playing Crimson Desert. It's a general rule in these types of big open world RPGs that you probably shouldn't just go in and pick up every single thing you see, because most of it is junk, and you will quickly find yourself over-encumbered and unable to pick up the things that aren't junk. Well, it's especially important in Crimson Desert because not only is your inventory space incredibly limited, there's no persistent storage box to put away the things that you think you'll need down the road, at least there isn't as of the current patch, and while there is fast travel, it is very limited and the waypoints that you can travel to are often not very close to the place where you can sell your excess stuff. So try to only keep the things you need. Avoid taking tools that you're not actively planning on using, like fishing rods, shovels, garden hose, mallets, etc. Unless you're specifically looking to craft something in a recipe, don't pick up every bug, rock, or piece of food that you see. You should keep a few inventory slots open for a pickaxe, or mining drill, a lumber axe, pieces of ore, especially iron and copper, timber, and animal hides, as you'll need all these materials for gear refining, which we'll cover in just a second. Likewise, you should also try to keep around various types of animal meat, as you can generally cook them without needing a ton of different ingredients for fairly decent health recovery. Certain vendors will also sell you inventory expansions if you're urgently in need of a bit more space, and as you continue through the game, completing quests and side quests will increase your inventory little by little, so you'll get a little more leeway with this general rule of thumb. Still, when you're just starting out, you should absolutely be picky about what you decide to put into your inventory, and don't be shy about discarding or selling things that you don't currently have any use for. In case you suffer some last-minute regret, there's also a buyback feature. It's also worth noting that when this script was written, inventory space was actually even more limited. They've since increased it a fair amount, but these tips are still important to know because becoming over-encumbered in this game is a real bummer. Refining your equipment is the main way you'll be increasing your character's power to better handle the increased difficulty of enemies as the game progresses. To refine a weapon, you'll need to complete the blacksmith's introductory quest in Hernand. You'll find him right in the middle of town, where he'll ask you to bring his assistant some timber. Easy enough. Once you complete that little errand, he'll be open for crafting and refining. Your starting weapon, the Sword of the Wolf, is actually a great weapon to keep around, and you can start refining it pretty much right away. If you want to get an early leg up, you should head directly north of Hernand Castle, where you'll find the Cairn House, right here on the map. The vendor here sells iron and copper ore at reasonable prices, which you can use to upgrade your gear early on. In general though, always make it a habit to keep an eye out for iron and copper ore veins and animals to hunt while you're out adventuring. And then when you come back to town, make a stop at the blacksmith to upgrade your gear as much as you can. Fairly early on in the game, Cliff will gain the ability to use a technique called the Force Palm. When you do the tutorial for this move, you'll learn that you can use it to activate switches and move objects in order to solve puzzles, and you can even use it in combat to briefly stun enemies. But perhaps the most important use of Force Palm is using it to gain some vertical height. You can use it in the air up to 3 times to get some massive airtime. This is extremely useful when it comes to scaling vertical cliffs, cutting down on the amount of time you'd spend traveling by having to follow a path around and up a mountain. It also goes hand in hand with air-to-ground abilities like the Flying Kick, Meteor Kick, and Body Slam. You can also use it as a quick way to mine ore veins, even while you're gripped to the wall without the need of a pickaxe or drill. Just know that it will push you off the wall if you're holding on. Your Axiom Force can be used in a variety of ways as well, though for this you'll need to unlock some skills in the tree. Upgrade Axiom Force to level 2 and you'll be able to get Aerial Maneuver, which is a vital movement skill that lets you pull and zip yourself to a location, Spider-Man style. Just know that this technique costs a whopping 200 stamina, so you'll need to make sure you've gotten some upgrades in your max stamina, otherwise you won't be able to use it at all. Crimson Desert is a bit unique in that there's no traditional level up system. Instead, you'll gain what are known as Abyss artifacts as you defeat enemies in battle, complete certain side missions, and solve the many Abyss Crescent puzzles strewn all around the map. These artifacts can be used as a very valuable currency to do one of typically 3 things. Add a skill point to a skill on the skills menu, add a stat point in either health, stamina, or spirit, or they can be used to refine your gear, once you get it to a high enough level where just ore and other simple materials won't suffice. The skill tree itself is a bit unusual as well, as you can really upgrade anything you want right from the start, barring a few exceptions. You don't need to start at the bottom and work your way up, so you should have a good idea of what kind of playstyle you want to employ in combat. If you fancy yourself more of a ranged fighter, go ahead and put down some upgrades into your bow skill. Want to hurl people around, do some RKOs from out of nowhere, and even chain together throws like your king from Tekken? Max out grappling before you even look at anything else. The choice is yours, just again, be aware of the stamina and spirit costs of these abilities, as you might need to add some points into your stats before you can even utilize these skills effectively. One thing you'll want to keep an eye out for whenever you enter a new region are these bells. When you ring them, you'll summon a Shy, who will then reveal that whole region's map. Showing you its points of interest and all of the roads so that you can better plot out your path towards your objectives. It won't show everything though, so you'll still have to do some travel on foot or horseback if you want to spot ore veins, hidden collectibles, shops, etc. Generally, you can find bells near the entrance of most major towns and cities, so make sure to do a sweep whenever you enter one. One particular point of interest that you'll want to explore around for are these big question mark circles on the map. These hide Abyss technology, either in the form of an Abyss Nexus or an Abyss Crescent. Abyss Nexuses are simply fast travel points that become activated once you stand on them. Abyss Crescents, on the other hand, are typically accompanied by a puzzle that you'll need to solve in order to unlock the fast travel spot and an Abyss artifact as well. Make it a priority to check these out as soon as you can, as having fast travel spots to hop around to will be extremely helpful, and you'll also greatly benefit from the Abyss artifacts that you'll receive as a result from solving the Abyss Crescent puzzles. One odd thing about Crimson Desert is that it's generally pretty lax about you being a kleptomaniac. To get the option to steal, all you have to do is find a mask. They're a dime a dozen, fortunately, and can be found either by completing a bounty hunting mission, or by simply picking one off of the body of a bleed bandit, or even by purchasing one from one of the shady back alley shops, like this one south of the church in Hernand. If you're not in direct eyesight of a person, you can pretty much just steal to your heart's content. If you are in direct eyesight, witnesses will be marked on your map with an eye icon. If you can knock them all out without alerting other witnesses, you can resume your thievery without any worry. The only downside to all of this is that you lose a small bit of your reputation in that area, which will affect your contribution currency, more on that later, but the amount you lose is very negligible, and you stand to gain quite a bit. One thing you should definitely consider early on is robbing the Spank blind by hitting their storeroom and cleaning the shelves on the second floor. Whenever you commit a crime, a red ring will expand around the side of the act. The more substantial the crime, the larger the ring will be. Simply escape the red ring before this meter depletes, and you'll get away scot-free. If you don't, you'll either get a fine, or if your fine gets large enough, a bounty will be placed on you. Once you get a bounty, guards will start seeking you out and will attempt to tackle you. If they succeed, it's straight to jail to pay your fine and serve your sentence. If you'd rather absolve your sins, you can clear your bounty by going to a nearby church and buying a writ of absolution. By being a good Greymane, completing quests, side quests, exploring new regions, etc., you will increase your reputation, thereby earning you a currency known as contribution. Contribution can be spent at a contribution shop, the first of which can be found right here just beyond the castle gate in Hernand. You can use contribution to purchase pretty solid gear early on, and once you decide to sell them back, you'll even get the contribution that you spent refunded to you, allowing you to ditch outdated gear and purchase something better at another store deeper into the game. If you ever see a grindstone or an anvil, definitely consider stopping by to sharpen your weapons or strengthen your armor. Grindstones will temporarily increase your weapon's attack power, while anvils will temporarily increase your armor's defense. This is especially important right before boss fights. Respeccing in Crimson Desert can be done at any time in the skills menu, as long as you have a Faded Abyss artifact. While that resource isn't limitless, you should still feel empowered to experiment with your skills. Or if you feel like you've made a mistake, like for example buying a skill that you don't have enough stamina or spirit for, you can fix that real quick. Food is an important resource in Crimson Desert, as it is the main way that you'll be healing yourself. As such, you never want to set off on a quest without a healthy supply. If you're low on currency, your best option is to seek out some animals to hunt in the wild. You'll get a good amount of meat that you can grill at a cooking spot to get a nice supply of healing consumables. Another option is to simply stock up on pre-made meals at the local inn. This can be a bit pricey, but it's well worth the time saved of not having to set out with the sole purpose of hunting for food. And finally, if you want to get fancy and heal a bunch of health in just a single go, you can go ingredient hunting with your big recipes and do some field pot or field grill cooking. You'll probably want to save these for big boss fights. One important thing to know is that if you hold the left bumper to shine your lantern, you can actually make abyss artifacts, cressets, and nexuses glow, letting you pinpoint their location and saving you time aimlessly wandering around looking for them. Generally, if you find an abyss artifact in the field, it will be a sealed abyss artifact that will require you to complete some sort of challenge before you're able to actually use it. Make sure to actually examine the sealed artifact after completing the challenge in order to claim its reward and clear it out of your inventory. Over the course of your adventure as Cliff, you'll eventually unlock 2 additional playable characters. Here's how all that works. Once you unlock a new character, you can switch to them by holding up on the D-pad and selecting their portrait. Then, GTA style, the perspective will switch over to the other character wherever they're currently at in the world. Each character has their own skill tree, and your spent artifacts on one character's skill do not carry over to another. However, the stat upgrades that you spent on your artifacts do carry over. So Cliff, Damiane, and Oongka will all have the same health, stamina, and spirit upgrades. Each character will also have their own specific quests to complete, and you should generally try to get these knocked out when they appear, because at certain points of the story, you will not be able to switch characters for an extended period of time, as you'll be stuck in Cliff's main questline. As for each character's playstyle, Damiane is a much more agile character that relies on rapiers and quick movements. Oongka, on the other hand, is an absolute brute, with slower, heavier, and much more devastating attacks and skills. You'll be playing most of the game as Cliff, so that's where the majority of your artifacts should go. But if you want to complete some of the character-specific side quests, that's as good of an opportunity as any to use some of your faded abyss artifacts to respec and check out the skills that Damiane and Oongka bring to the table. A good ways into the game, you'll secure a plot of land that will eventually turn into the Greymane's home base. There's a lot of really important things that you can do here that you should know about. First off, it's a great one-stop shop to get equipped for a lengthy mission. There's a cook that will sell you ready-made meals and ingredients, a quartermaster that will sell gear and allow you to refill on ammo for your ranged weapons, along with a nearby cooking pot for you to make some recipes. You can also sell off any unneeded equipment at the vendors, and if you max out the trust of the various shops in town by either greeting them once per day or giving them gifts, you can actually purchase a trade agreement that allows you to buy their inventory directly from the comparable merchant at your camp. As you build up your camp by rescuing Greymanes via side missions, you can eventually send them out on missions to increase your funds, construct statues, weaken outposts, collect a variety of rewards, etc. You'll need camp funds and certain skills on your Greymanes to take on a lot of these missions. We recommend having your Greymanes doing these 2 protection missions whenever you're low on funds, and just leave them running in the background to amass some wealth. You'll unlock new skills for your Greymanes by upgrading your camp, and you'll upgrade your camp by completing camp-related side quests, like Embers of Return. You'll get an actual quest pretty deep into the game that teaches you all about having a pet, but you can actually get yourself a pet pretty much from the get-go, and you really should. All you have to do is gain the affection of one of the domesticatable animals by continuously petting it or giving it food to fill its trust meter. Pets will increase it by 5 and can be done 5 times a day, and feeding it meat will increase it by 20 with a max of 3 times per day. So altogether, it shouldn't take more than 2 days to secure yourself a pet. Pets are great to have around, as they will automatically loot items off the ground, which is especially handy when you're mining ore. Just be aware that it may lead to you filling up your inventory with junk real quick after a battle against a ton of enemies, which kinda flies in the face of the first tip that we recommended, so just be ready to offload your excess junk often if you decide to have a pet. Finally, let's round this video out with a handful of really quick rapid-fire tips of things that will help you along your journey. If you have the mining knuckle drill, you can mine while clinging to a wall by holding left trigger, and right bumper all at the same time. When you catch a fish, if you hover over it in your inventory and hold the A button down, you'll get the option to clean the fish, which will turn it into fillets. This is important for certain recipes. You can also hold down the A button in your inventory to use all of a stacked item, like coin pouches. You can launch yourself with trees by grabbing them with your axiom claw, rotating the right stick, and pressing the button when prompted to high jump. You don't even need a skill for this. Witches are an important NPC type that you'll be guided towards in Chapter 5. Visit them often to slot Abyss Cores into your gear to further increase its effectiveness. Palmar pills are quick revives that can bring you back to life from the game over screen. They can be found all throughout the world, or they can be brewed in a cauldron if you find the recipe in this cave near the start of the game. You can cut down trees in a single blow by pressing right bumper and right trigger at the same time with your weapon equipped. The only thing you'll need is an axe for the final step, where you turn the cut down log into timber. You can go through waterfalls by using your stab attack through them, which is done by pressing right bumper and Y at the same time. You can rest at most beds and campfires to pass the time and restore your life, but there is a cooldown on how much you can rest, so you can't just continuously do it to quickly clear the time-based missions that you send your Greymanes out to complete. Man, I know that was a lot, and there's probably even more that I haven't covered, but this should be a good primer to know what you're doing as soon as you start Crimson Desert. Thanks for watching, and for more Crimson Desert guides, make sure to check out our videos on skills to get first, things to do first, and things it doesn't tell you. And for everything else, keep it here on IGN.